For the penultimate round, we return to the Marina. Sebastian Ocampo on pole from Jonathan Sims and Revo. Then it's Daf Sanchez starting fourth from Pablo Sierra, who's officially out of the title hunt. Then it's Oscar Folstad, Akari Lopez, Cici, and Tenali Gabo, whose teammate also out of the title hunt. Santino Milan starts 10th from Bastian Tan, UK Ball, and this man, Daniel Bogdasarov. Then it's Lewis Olsen, Pierre Gasly, Leo and Cosmos following them. Enoch Curie in 18th. Babinus Jr. starts 19th from Jack Carter, Tommy and Miguel de Souza. Well then, Sebastian Ocampo and Revo both fighting for a championship this season. Ocampo could win it today. All 5 lights go on. And the Marina Bay Prix is green. Pretty good start from both front row men. Sims coming alongside Ocampo, barreling down into turn 1, just about keeping it out of the wall. Further back, Babinus Jr. facing the wrong way as that's Jack Carter, who has also faced turmoil alongside Enoch Curie. And Carter and Yui both in the wall. Babinus Jr. with a 5-second time penalty, but they have just about managed to get everyone out of the first few chicanes still in this race on lap 1 of 15. But of course the first chicanes, not where you see the most hectic action. You see it all in the final part of the second sector. Speaking of the second sector, it's where in practice the Andretti cars just look to be planted this entire time. And as you saw further back, Revo actually kind of going a little bit off track coming through this part of the track. You do tend to see cars going offline, looking for my words there, but of course it is just that kind of track. This is the quintessential street track on the calendar. Can be slow and clunky, but sometimes you do get moments where it's so quick you wouldn't believe it, as they now round out the double left-hand turn to start lap 2 of 15. Attack mode's officially online, and Revo is going to want to use that as much as possible. As it would stand, he would leave here 13 points behind Sebastian Ocampo. That would be a gap almost insurmountable to defeat, but remember, the man currently in 9th position, Oscar Folstad, did surmount a similar gap last season to take his first championship. Ocampo taking a new fastest first sector, as there goes Cici down the inside on Tenali Gabo. Gabo will be driving his car next season, so he's just doing his best to just tell him that this is what he does. And as you can see, Sims Motorsport, they've got on their halo Grazia Johnny and Grazia Cici, pretty much saying thank you for the memories, as it also says on the car. Of course, those two, the first 2 drivers with the Sims Motorsport team, and obviously this man, the more successful one. They've done so much together, but while Sims continues the journey with the team as the team principal, he now rounds out the double as Tanda for the final time in Marina Bay, and he sets a new fastest lap. Sanchez steals it, 120 dead for Akari Lopez, but Cici goes 119.483. One of the slower laps around the calendar. It's one of the slower laps, and also one of the longer laps to have such a low amount of time spent at full throttle. At least with Monte Carlo, it's a slow lap, but it's a short lap. It knows what it's doing with its time. Meanwhile, this one's just somewhat unnecessarily long, and you always see virtual safety cars around this track in Singapore. And I'm just glad that Babinus Jr. and Carter, they all didn't need to come into the pits, especially with Enoch Curie being on the hards. Just touching on drivers who started this race on the hards: Tenali Gabo, who's dropped to 9th, Pierre Gasly, who's dropped to 16th, Babinus Jr. and Enoch Curie, who are down in the last 2 positions. So hard tire's not looking that great, as we are about 1/5 of the way through this race. And the soft tires also not looking that great. Hards don't look great when it comes to the performance, but the softs don't look good when it comes to how quickly they were around this track. It's lap 4, And Sims has attack mode, but he has dropped out of attack mode distance. Currently, it looks as if, with Carter down in 20th, Andretti Honda are going to go into Las Vegas knowing that they have the best chance of... oh my goodness, what's happened here? Pierre Gasly got a 5-second time penalty and lost his front wing. Was going to touch upon how Braun Honda, they've got quite possibly the single best chance of winning a Constructors title. Seems to be an open goal. And Ocampo to go for his second championship this season. But Revo is still going to be hounding him. And into the wall! Out of the race! Whoa! Revo and Sims both out of the Prix! Virtual safety car! Ocampo's lost his front wing! He'll have to come into the pits at the end of this lap! This is unbelievable! And in the penultimate round of the season, the man second in the championship is out. If it finishes like this, Ocampo will be world champion and even if the same thing happens next time out and the roles are reversed, if it finishes as it is today, Ocampo is champion. No matter what, but there are yellows down in the third sector, and you can see why Cosmos running into the back of Leo, and it looked to be, once again, virtual safety car, and it'll be neither DS Automobiles man finishing this race. They're gonna have to double stack. No, they won't. Maybe they will. I'm not too sure. They're not double stacking at Honda. At Braun Honda, rather, but Dav Sanchez now leads the field from Pablo Sierra and Oscar Falstad to Nali Gabo is fourth, and for Sebastian Ocampo, he can take this as leisurely as he wants. He doesn't even need to finish. He knows that he'll walk into Vegas likely to win the championship, but Sanchez now leads with soft tires that have seen much better days as he now comes through the chicane and is out of the race. Dav Sanchez is out on lap 5 of 15. Virtual safety car once again. And I'm just glad that we haven't seen what's known as the big one when all hell breaks loose around this track. It happens surprisingly often in this championship. Big wrecks like the likes you never really want to see in racing, but the likes you know you will eventually see in racing. Because no matter how safe we try to make it, racing it is and will always be a dangerous sport. As you can see, Volstad's tires beginning to go off. He's probably going to come into the pits at the end of the lap and does dive into pit lane. And Pablo Sierra also in. So Tenali Gabo leads. Lewis Olsen also comes into the pits. I do believe, yes, Dragon are using their white livery for this race. And coming out of the pits. And now he's going to come out of the pits is the Norwegian number 20. He comes out right behind his teammate. But now, Sebastian Ocampo is 1.4 seconds off the back of Tenali Gabo. Countryman Akari Lopez currently in third. And honestly, for Akari, this is actually really good for him. He's currently looking at a podium opportunity. For the first time in a long, long time, is into the wall goes Tenali Gabo. The Frenchman, the French team, and the Italians' luck still as low as we've seen throughout the entire season. Ocampo's got attack mode, but we've got a full course yellow. Oh, out of the race goes an hot QE, and oh, it's the big one. It's the big crash here in Singapore. Gasly and Miguel de Souza involved. Flying tire coming off of the Mahindra car, and Leo's got a front puncture. Hectic activities, and I think Gabo might have hit the wall again, but he comes into the pits either way. We're on to lap 6 of 15, should be 7, yes, lap 7 of 15 is the man who's currently in second position, Akari Lopez, his teammate, Leo, now with a front puncture and effectively out of the chance of scoring points today. unless the carnage we've seen continues. And Babinus Jr. also into the pits, coming out on softs. Gasly and Miguel de Souza also in. But Ocampo leading the field. On board with the number 76. And he's still trying to break away from the rest of the pack. He's 1.5 seconds ahead of Akari, who's roughly 2 seconds ahead of Cici. Leo finally does come into the pits, but I just want to point this out about not QE. He was the last man out there on hard tires. That could have been very, very neat to see, but of course with Gabo hitting the wall on effectively the lap prior, there wasn't too much else that you could see, and he's just gone ahead and set a fastest second sector of anyone, and he's in 10th position. The championship battle, as it would stand, would be over with only now 7 laps to go. We've surpassed half race distance in Singapore. Ocampo leads, Akari second, Cici third. Still looking with Akari Lopez. And look at that, on the front right, as UK Ball further back, 5-second time penalty for colliding with Babinus Jr. And he finds himself pretty much planted in the wall. Can he get himself out of there? He's lost his front wing almost certainly. No, he hasn't, so that's something of note. Yellow's in the first sector, but the track has officially been cleared. The mediums are beginning to show signs of their age. Unlike the drivers, thankfully. Bogdasarov almost riding the curb there. Don't want to be too close to the wall. You're always pushing it with how close you can be to the wall in this championship, but you never want to do that and hit it. Both Venturi drivers losing their front wings on this lap. And just look at how shiny the number 14 car looks, even with the broken front wing. It's an absolute sight to behold. It's so slick and shiny. In comes Bastian Tan with 6 laps to go. But Ocampo and Akari staying out. Still Yellow's down there as we come up to it with Tenali Gabo. And that's Santino Milan, who's been listed as the cause for it. He's lost his front wing. So, of course, again, another issue down at the first chicane. One of the slowest opening turns on the calendar. Most of the time you've got fast opening for a potential overtake, but not here. It sets the tone quite well. They're double stacking down at Venturi. But we're looking at your race leader, championship leader, and out of the race goes Sebastian Ocampo. He will not leave here as World Drivers' Champion. He will not leave there, increasing his championship lead instead. The gap between the top constructors and drivers remains static heading into Las Vegas. Revo's lifeline has been found. The virtual safety car is ending with 6 laps to go. And Akari Lopez leads the field for the first time in a long while. And I expect him to... No, he doesn't pit, but UK Ball out of the race! Oh! We missed his shunt. That's really scary. His wheels were lifted off the ground, and there's no other words for it other than truly terrifying. Virtual safety car with 5 laps to go. And Santino Milan and Akari Lopez's tyres there, all far off the cliff. Virtual safety car is ending as we go back racing. Akari Lopez heads the pack by 4 seconds ahead of Santino Milan and Tenali Gabo, but the gap is shrinking as they come through this little W section, a wide W section of the second sector. It's very slow as Into the wall goes Akari Lopez. Lopez in the barriers, and out of the race goes Santino Milan. Reversing there, Akari Lopez. Gabo has taken the lead. That's not overtake of the year worthy, but oh, collision for Cici, hitting the Aurelio Pinnacle driver. Virtual safety car. And while the timing tower shows Santino Milan out, that incident says a lot more than that, because Tenali Gabo is now in the race lead. Cici now has a time penalty to his name, and the outlook of this race might have just flipped on its very head. Tenali Gabo does, in fact, however, dive into pit lane. Akari Lopez gets passed by seemingly both McLarens coming through the final two turns, and in fact, Bastian Tan, he's going to get attack mode on his teammate. He's closing in into the first chicane they come, and they're not going to try anything special. So Cici leads the field with the fastest lap, but it is currently the two McLarens setting in the pace. And also, considering Cici's time penalty, this is looking to be a McLaren 1-2 for the second time this season. And it's weird to think, both times Volstad and McLaren have won a race this season, seemingly. It's been an absolute wreckfest that they've just managed to capitalise on. Because they were nowhere before all these incidents. They were down in around 10th position. But they're now up in 2nd and 3rd. And this is the truest form of a race of attrition. Coming through the chicane come the race leaders in the top 3, keeping it out of the walls. You really have to muscle the car if you've got no grip to keep it out of the walls. As you can see, Cosmos and Tenali Gabo coming through. Pierre Gasly's mediums looking a lot worse for wear. Here comes Tommy sending it down the inside. His soft tires beginning to go off that proverbial cliff. Out of the race goes Pierre Gasly. Another virtual safety car. It's another retirement for a Braun Honda driver. And this race has been marred with stoppages for virtual safety cars, but apart from that, you rarely actually see some racing. We've got 3 laps to go here in the Marina. And we now go back racing on lap 12 of 15. Cici leads the field from Oscar Folstad and Bastian Tan. Sims Motorsport Nissan, they'd love to take their first race win. But to do that, Cici would have to build a gap between him and Oscar Folstad. Tommy dives into the pits, goes on to medium tyres. Not too sure if he had to change his front wing or anything like that. Leo's got some really dinged up tyres. Out of the race goes Bastian Tan. He's gone straight on. He must have collided with the barriers, yeah. His front wing is down there, and a virtual safety car is Bastian out of the Prix. In comes Leo, down in 13th. He's going to go up to 12th, and just pointing this out for Leo, ever since he's had that puncture, he hasn't been ahead of anyone in this race, and I don't expect him to be ahead of anyone for the rest of this race. But as it would stand, if cars keep wrecking out of the race at a similar pace, then who knows? There could still be points on offer. As through that turn comes Babinas Jr. His medium's looking a lot more sketchy now. But on to lap 13 of 15 we go. Cici for Sims Motorsport Nissan still heading the field. Folstad is second. And for Oscar Folstad, it's been a title defense that he'd rather forget. Sure, he's gotten himself 1 win. He's looking at his 2nd one of the season. But it'd be a season where, even if he were to win every race, even if he were to start every race on pole, there'd be something that would mean that he wouldn't even be in the top 5. Looking behind with Cici, coming down that small hill, there are some very small moments of elevation change around this track. As on board we go! Wall riding for Cici! And he is out of this race! Oscar Folstad, with 2 laps to go, takes the lead. Cici is second. Lewis Olsen is going for a podium today. He's up in 3rd, and then you've got the 2 Renault Edams of Daniel Bogdasarov, Antonelli Gabo, Cosmos 6th, Vicari Lopez 7th, Babinus Jr. is 8th, then it's Tommy, Miguel de Souza, and Leo, the 11 runners still in this race. As out goes Cosmos. We've just had a virtual safety car. Are you kidding me? We're gonna take a look. And it just looks like he's hit the wall on corner exit, which is a really easy mistake to make if you've got low grip. Really easy. Even the best drivers do that sometimes. Many drivers peeling into the pits on the penultimate lap of this race. And every man who will finish this race will score points. Tenali Gabo takes the lead. But the question now is, will those mediums last till the end of this race? Will the Italian finally secure another race win to the tally? And I'm not too sure. Season 20 should be something out of legend, but of course that's next season. We're still dealing with the end of this season, and on a day where Sebastian Ocampo could have won the title, he just about doesn't. As, oh, the wall! Gabo! Wall riding! Coming through the chicane, his front wing is off. How has he managed to stay in this race? He carried enough momentum to land back onto the ground, but is there not any sort of internal problems with that Renault car? Because he's definitely got front wing damage. Will he come into the pits? He's got no attack charge to use. As coming through the chicane comes Tommy, Vicari Lopez, Miguel de Souza, Babinus Jr. and Leo. Those last two will come through it soon enough. But rounding the final two turns then, Norway are currently looking at a race win. A second of the season. A second win for DS McLaren TGR, and a season to forget after winning both titles in brilliant fashion last season. In Season 18, Season 19 has not been anywhere near as kind to the team. But on board with the number one man, who again didn't want to run the number one man. There was a misunderstanding when it came to assigning driver numbers. But for Falstad today, ever since CC crashed out of this race, he's just been leading and hasn't really looked back. He comes through the chicane then, keeping it clean and tidy. Pablo Sierra's found his way past Denali Gabo. Just do your best to keep it out of the wall. As out goes Denali. We will end this race under virtual safety car. Lewis Olsen bumping into the back of the Renault. And without a front wing, he could be under threat. But now, as he comes through the final sector, there's a possibility of the first double podium for Norway in the Formula E Monoposto Championship. But all that is certain is this man coming home to secure win number 2 in Season 19. Oscar Falstad rounds the final turn and will win the Marina Bay Prix. Pablo Sierra will come home in second, and there will be no drag race. Lewis Olsen comes across the line and takes third position. Bogdasarov is fourth. Out of the race has gone Leo further back. We have 8 finishes in this race. Vicari Lopez 5th, Tommy 6th, Miguel de Souza 7th, and Babinus Jr. will finish 8th. And as for the championship, we now roll over to the Sin City, the gambling capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. And this is the podium. Falstad wins from the 2 Nissans. What on earth? Oh, there's an issue there with the textures. I've just realized Lewis Olsen's wearing the wrong suit. But yes, that is Lewis Olsen on the third step. Falstad wins from Pablo Sierra and Lewis Olsen. Then it's Daniel Bogdasarov, Vicari Lopez, Tommy, Miguel de Souza, and Babinus Jr. with the rest of the field crashing out of this race. So in the driver standings, Ocampo leads the way on 188 points, and he's 2 points ahead of Revo. This is gonna go right down to the wire. Then it's Daniel Bogdasarov, Oscar Folstad, Pablo Sierra, Sims, CC, Cable, Kari Lopez, there's Lewis Olsen, Santino Milan, Anot Huey, Babinus Jr., Leo, Cosmos, Tenali Gabo, Tommy, Miguel D'Souza, Daf Sanchez, Jack Carter, Bastian Tan, and Pierre Gasly. In the constructors standings heading into the finale in Las Vegas, Andretti Honda still lead the way from DS Automobiles. Then it's Sims Motorsport Nissan dropping down the order. They've dropped to 5th with Nissan Nismo up in 3rd and Renault Edams in 4th. Many title fights needs to win here. Then it's DS McLaren TGR, Aurelio Pinnacle, Dragon Renault, Born Honda GP, Aurelio Mahindra, and DS Venturi Formula E team. We'll see you guys next time then for the finale in Season 19, the Las Vegas E-Prix.